Toomey.com.
Using your tax dollars to fund a foreign company. New calls today to investigate a planned $730 million U.S. loan to a Russian-owned company called Severstal. The idea is to build a steel factory in Dearborn, Michigan with the money and with that company. An outraged lawmaker saying this loan is worse than the one to the solar panel company known as Solyndra out of California. That's now belly up. Republican Senator Pat Toomey is out of Pennsylvania, member of the Senate Budget Committee. He wants an investigation. Senator, welcome back here to America's Newsroom.
Thanks for having me.
What would the investigator find?
Well, look, I want to get to the bottom of this whole thing, and at the same time, I'm going to pursue an effort to prevent this loan from happening and to kill this whole program. Look, this strikes me as crony capitalism completely run amok. It's bad enough that we taxpayers lose $500 million on this foolish green energy plan. That Solyndra belly up should have been a pretty good warning for us, but now it's like this is a whole new level. Now we're going to lend $750 million to the second wealthiest man in Russia, a multi-billionaire, so that he can create a steel company to compete with American steel company. I mean, how ridiculous can this get?
Well, why would they do that?
Well, I would like to find that out.
I mean, stretch the bounds of logic here. Give me a suggestion or a theory.
I think they have somehow have come up with the idea that if taxpayers lend money to a foreigner to come in and build a factory, that's somehow a good thing for us. Never mind that, you know, we used to have a free enterprise system. By the way, this company, the Russian company, the Russian multi-billionaire who owns it, they have access to all the capital in the world. They can borrow money very affordably, but perhaps not as affordably as this deal, because we'd be subsidizing them with artificially low interest rates.
Why not give that money to a steel company in Pennsylvania?
Well, I'm not in favor of taxpayers giving out.
American.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of taxpayers giving out money to private businesses. They need to learn to, you know, survive or fail on their own. But we certainly shouldn't be giving it to a giant Russian steel company. This makes no sense.
Some say it's worse than Solyndra. Are you in that category?
Yeah, I think, you know, they're both indefensible, but this one is particularly offensive when you consider that it's this super wealthy Russian individual and company that's going to get a taxpayer subsidized loan, and the taxpayer's on the hook for this $750 million. This makes no sense.
It's my understanding the money has not been given out yet, and it could be stopped in its tracks, and all likelihood it will. Is that your understanding?
Well, I'm not sure about the likelihood, but I'm going to do everything I possibly can to try to make sure that it never happens.
Yeah, okay. On another topic here, you're on the Super Committee, and America's watching you like a hawk. But 16 days, 15 days, I think, according to the law, where we need to get this nailed down. Do you think the Super Committee will get a deal?
I hope so, and I think it's certainly still possible. There's a majority of members of the committee who want to reach a deal, and we're working hard at it. Last night we were working until 8 o'clock in a very intense discussion. So, you know, we're going to stay at it, and I hope we can accomplish something meaningful.
Well, you say you think it's possible. That's far from a guarantee, the way I hear it.
I can't guarantee it. It certainly is possible. It's late in the game, but the clock hasn't run out completely. We are not as far apart as we once were, I would suggest, but I can't guarantee that there's going to be an outcome.
Are Democrats squeezing you to raise taxes?
Well, I don't want to get into the specifics too much, but I will acknowledge there's a big fundamental divide. My Democratic colleagues in Congress generally, and in the particular, want much, much higher taxes and more in tax revenue, and myself and my colleagues think that the problem is overspending and that that's what we've got to deal with. So that is certainly the fundamental divide.
Would they meet you halfway if you reform the tax code instead?
Well, you know, I don't want to get, again, we've got an obligation to each other not to get too specific, but I can tell you I have said publicly and privately that the key to a success here is reforming the tax code so that we can have strong economic growth, lower marginal rates. That generates the revenue that my friends on the other side of the aisle are so insistent upon, and it generates the economic growth that I'm insistent on. So I think that's the sweet spot of finding an agreement.
There's a lot on the line, 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and there's a lot of personality in that room. How are you getting along?
There is, yeah. You know, I think it's been very civil. At times it's been very lively exchanges, sometimes a little bit heated, but it's cooperative and civil.
My guess is you'll be working until the midnight hour on the 23rd of November. Fair guess?
I think that's a safe bet, but I am determined to be home in time for the Thanksgiving turkey.
Best to you and your family. Senator, thank you for your time.
Thanks very much.
Toomey.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Go to foxnews.com/America's Newsroom. Click on that BYA box and leave a question. Shoot me an email at